If you've ever wanted to develop a new habit or eliminate a vice, you've likely had a strong desire to change things, start improving, and act correctly at some point. However, as you've realized, this is more challenging than it seems. We've all faced failure at some point, not being able to achieve what we set out to do. And there's a fundamental part of the process of becoming better individuals that is difficult for everyone to uphold. That fundamental part is discipline. How many times have you made a plan, committed to your goal, only to stop after a few days, giving in to impulses and reverting to your old self? As mentioned, it's something that has happened to all of us at some point. However, just because it's something that happens to everyone doesn't mean it's right or that we should normalize this situation. Normalizing mediocrity only invites us to be mediocre, to settle, to lose the will to challenge ourselves in life, and ultimately, to lose the possibility of becoming the best version of ourselves. Let me tell you that if you can't overcome your vices, change your habits, or achieve your goals, you probably lack discipline. Discipline is a person's ability to overcome short-term desires. Short-term desire is the enemy of habit change, so to change habits, we must necessarily develop our discipline. It's simply the act of doing what you should do when you should do it, even if you don't want to. In this video, I'll explain why discipline is so important for us to become better at what we set out to do. We'll also talk about why it's becoming increasingly difficult to be disciplined, and I'll give you several tips to work on your discipline. Before we begin, I appreciate it if you can give a like to the video, as it helps spread this philosophy to more people. If you don't want to miss any videos, subscribe and hit the bell. I'll also leave a link in the description of this video to my other social media, where I share more content about historical principles that advocate for self-mastery, promote self-examination, self-control, responsibility, and objectivity. All of this helps us live with virtue, leading a fulfilling and happy life. And to live with virtue, the most basic tool is discipline. Discipline allows us to be free because it gives us the ability to choose. In the modern world, people are slaves to their desires. Those who live as slaves to their desires will likely never recognize it because they believe they are free since they always do what pleases them, even if that's not true. Being free doesn't mean doing what you want at any time. True freedom consists of having the ability to choose. Who do you think is freer? A lazy person who always wakes up late, never fulfills their obligations, or someone who wakes up early and always fulfills their responsibilities? At first glance, it might seem that the lazy person is freer because they do what they want, wanting to live lazily. However, the lazy person has no ability to choose because they will never be able to live a different life. They live enslaved by laziness, while the disciplined, who wakes up early and fulfills their responsibilities, has the ability to choose. They can choose to be lazy or responsible. In fact, this choice is available every morning of their life. The disciplined, in their freedom of choice, chooses to act with discipline because they know it is the right thing to do. That's what true freedom is, the ability to choose to be responsible when needed and choose fun and pleasure when responsibilities have been fulfilled. The disciplined person lives freely, while the lazy person lives enslaved to their laziness, without the possibility of improvement, as they live deceived, thinking they are free or happier. This example can be applied to any vice you can imagine. Now that we've clarified that discipline makes us freer, we need to understand what it really means to be disciplined. Every time we have a goal, whether it's losing weight, building a business, becoming an elite athlete, or an incredible musician, we need to work to achieve it. But it's not enough to strive for one day. Constant effort is needed. And to make this effort, we need to overcome our impulses. The ability to overcome these impulses, to act despite the temptation not to, is discipline. Being disciplined doesn't mean you'll never feel the desire to relax. It just means you've developed the ability to resist that feeling. The more you resist these impulses, the better you will be able to do it in the future. Discipline develops like a muscle. It's also important to understand the difference between discipline and motivation. Motivation is a great fuel for getting things done, but it's inconsistent. One day you wake up motivated, and the next day that motivation may have disappeared. Therefore, a person who relies solely on motivation will never be able to make a change in their life or achieve their goals because, as we saw before, constant effort is needed, not just for a few days. However, when you are a disciplined person, the result is different. Motivation can help you start, but when motivation disappears, discipline takes over. It keeps us moving towards our goal even when we are unmotivated. Do you think an elite athlete always feels like training? Or that a successful writer always feels like writing? Or that the most successful entrepreneur always feels like working? That's where the difference between those who settle for little and those who want to improve appears. We all feel like sitting on the couch or lying in bed, but not everyone has the ability to overcome that desire. And that's where the disciplined person has an advantage over others. And why are there so many undisciplined people in the modern world? Why is it becoming so difficult to be disciplined nowadays? This is happening because life is becoming easier. When your survival is at stake, there's no room to neglect your responsibilities because your life depends on it. But when life becomes easy, two conditions develop and make it difficult to cultivate discipline. The first condition is temptations. We are surrounded by more sources of temptation and distraction than ever before. This makes it increasingly difficult to overcome our desires. Things like television or social media are competing for our attention. Many of them are designed to attract and engage us. We have in our hands the ability to do whatever we want through the internet. Never before has the human being had so many different possibilities to distract themselves and not work. I'm not saying that all these things are bad, but it's in our hands to learn how to manage the time we dedicate to all of this. The second condition is the lack of resistance. An easier life also offers us fewer opportunities to practice discipline. As mentioned before, discipline is like a muscle and it will atrophy if not used. In the modern world, it's not necessary to be disciplined to survive. Amazon offers us next-day deliveries, Netflix allows us to watch whatever we want whenever we want, social media provides us with dopamine doses when needed, and we can order food that will arrive at our doorstep in 30 minutes. The list is endless. As I mentioned in my video about the art of being disciplined, instant gratification is slowly eliminating opportunities for us to practice discipline. We are becoming impatient and our attention span is decreasing. There's a quote from Seneca that I really like because it reflects well how an easier life removes opportunities for us to improve and be disciplined. The quote goes like this: "No one is more unfortunate than the man whom adversity has forgotten, for he has no opportunity to be tested." Unfortunately, the world is eliminating sources of resistance that are necessary to create discipline. We must understand that comfort is not something bad. For the Stoics, it's just a tool, and this tool can be used for good or for ill. Using comfort to rest after fulfilling our responsibilities is a good thing, something I encourage. However, the problem arises with excessive comfort that atrophies our discipline. Everyone likes to sit on the couch and rest. However, discipline is uncomfortable, not pleasant, because it causes us suffering. But this discomfort is the catalyst for growth. It gives us a sense of development, accomplishment, and achievement. It shows us the limits of our ability and allows us to overcome them. So, how do we build discipline? The first step to being disciplined is to find a purpose, set a goal that you want to achieve. As mentioned before, discipline is like a muscle and therefore, it must be trained in the same way. For our discipline to grow, we need to create uncomfortable situations in our lives to practice it. Just as when training a muscle, you don't start trying to lift 300 kilograms on the first day, you start with little weight. The same goes for discipline. We should start with small challenges, small purposes that we want to fulfill. Think of things in your life that are uncomfortable for you, but that you know you can do. Setting tasks that you can't accomplish with your current level of discipline is a waste of time. Just as setting goals that you can overcome effortlessly. Achieving these small uncomfortable tasks will help build your discipline gradually, and soon you can challenge yourself with more difficult goals. Each accomplished goal is a repetition we do to strengthen our discipline muscle. Here are some ideas for goals you can set to work on discipline. 1. Try to exercise regularly, like running a certain number of days a week or going to the gym. Besides being healthy, this will make you feel satisfied and work on your discipline. 2. Participate in sports events in your city. Look for sports events in your city and use them as a challenge to overcome and work on your discipline. For example, participate in a race. 3. Martial arts. Few sports work as much on discipline as martial arts. Plus, you get in shape and learn to defend yourself. 4. Learn a new hobby, such as cooking, sewing, or gardening. Developing new passions and hobbies is perfect for practicing constancy and putting effort into a task that enriches you as a person. 5. Build something. Building something is another perfect activity to work on patience, effort, and discipline. Think of a project that excites you and try to complete it. 6. Wake up early. Getting up early is a difficult task for many, making it perfect to work on discipline. You don't need to wake up very early at once, start slowly. I hope this video is helpful for you to become more disciplined or at least inspire you to overcome yourself. Finally, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel to receive more content from us. Until next time.